lately? And I said, no, exactly the opposite. I said,
How has
he
that
says,
become a standard question?
yeah, well, what does that mean? Exactly the opposite. And I said, oh, I don't know. Well, anyway, I did get your dream, and this is very similar to the dream about the moon and the
Mhm.
sun, and the sunlight going down and the moon coming in. And what it really says to me is um, that well, let me just go through it here. You're in an unknown house. So now this is a house that's not egos. So it's the house of non-ego. Okay. So it's the house of kind of the impersonal, that aspect of us that is not us. Okay. So it would be, usually you would think it's going to be the house of the great mother or the self or something like that, but it's whenever we think of non-ego, that's what we're thinking of. you know uh, it's something other than ego, and that's what sort of where magic occurs. And we're lying on the far side of the bed, so we're asymmetrical on a bed. So to be on the right side or the left side, but we're not symmetrically in the middle. So we're tending towards one side. We're somewhat lopsided. And then the shadow comes there. So following us even into sleep is those aspects of our behavior which are totally compulsive and that we don't have any control over. This is what really the shadow is, partially, is that it is that aspect of us that is just uh, not we do things without unconsciously, and we can't help ourselves. Okay. And we all have this. I have this very much so. That's what I told her. I said, the doctor, I've been having sort of these angina attacks, where I get tight,
Mhm.
and the only way I can stop it is to meditate. And it's sort of a you're just experiencing, I think, a constricted blood flow. I'm just got to take some
Mhm.
aspirins or something. But anyway, I said, well, I don't think it helps to drink about a gallon of phosphoric acid every day. you know. But anyway, it's compulsive, and I didn't know what to. I've been taking magnesium to try to stay off that. But anyway, so the shadow is there sleeping with us, and now the next morning. So this that from this that okay, we're in the house of the non-ego. So we're in the house of kind of that aspect of of um, of consciousness that we have no control over. So it tends to be linked with the irrational, and the irrational is magic. Is what Jung said, what the ancients called magic, we call psyche. So it really is psyche. So anyway, from sleeping in the house of psyche, on its bed with our compulsive elements there with us. We wake up next morning and we find the vehicle of the ego is in a sorry state. We can see that before we even look, all the screws and nuts that it once had are falling all over the ground. We open up the hood, it's its motive power is missing. Okay. Then we look into the interior, and its directing mechanism is steerless. It can't steer. So it goes, even if it could go, it can't turn left or right or go straight. It just goes wherever it goes. But anyway, it's not under the control of free will anymore. So that which free will has control over has no motive power, and also cannot be directed by the free will anymore or by consciousness. So and then we wonder who did it. Well, we did this. It's what it really is describing is us, is you or me, you know. It is it's describing the our and you know, see, that's why I'm saying it's very similar. Hi, Roy.
Aye.
Hi. We're just going over uh, um, Charles' dream. Let me go over it really quickly because I was just getting to the point where I said it was familiar or similar. Hi, Dawn. It was similar to the dream where, you know, we see the sun going down. So we see the waking day is about the period of action where ego can exercise its free will and, you know, go on the hero journey is coming to a close. So we're going to then be plunged into darkness. And the lunar world we can see coming, but it doesn't have any, it is totally, has no energy for us. There's no energy there. It's dead. And that's why I described it sort of as the womb of the old crone, you know, of the old witch. It's a womb, all right, but it will never bear fruit, you know. So that's closing in. The ego breaks down, and in really a sense of depression because the waking day period of action is coming to a close, and this barren womb is now going to assert um, the it's going to ascend to the level of control because it will soon encompass us. Okay, well, I'm just going to have a couple throat lozenges here. The Now this dream is where we are in an unknown home and we lay down on the far side of the bed uh, in the bedroom to go to sleep. So it's an unknown home. So it's unknown to ego. So it's really non-ego. And anything that's not under the control of ego, it's under the control of some unknown um, uh, authority, some unknown consciousness. And that is psyche. Now, it could be either feminine or masculine, but it's non-ego, so it's psyche. So we're in the house of psyche, not in the house of ego. And we sleep on the far side of the bed. So whatever, I don't know if it's left or right, but it's not symmetric. We are lopsided to one side or the other. The shadow, Connor, comes in and sleeps in the bed next to us. So now the shadow side is that behavior that we have that even though free will could exert control over it, it can't either because it's so compulsive. You know, that's what I was telling Charles, you know, at a physical today. And, you know, I drink about 6 bottles of Diet Pepsi every day and I just can't stop. You know? So, I mean, you know, it's not good for my cardiac system, you know, because it leaks magnesium. But anyway, that's something I'm so now we doze off, we go to sleep, we wake up the next morning and we go out and look at our car. So after sleeping in the non-ego realm overnight, we go out and we look, what is the state of the ego vehicle? Because it's sort of an analog for the dream ego, okay? You know, some car we're driving. The thing I like about this dream, you know, you often wonder, what does the auto mean, the vehicle? This dream, I think, better than any dream I've seen, really links it as an analogy for our own free will, okay? We see all kinds of screws and nuts lying all around. And so what's wrong, you know? And then we open up the hood, the engine's not there. So the motive power of ego is missing. Okay. The waking day is closing. The barren womb is closing in. Then we look in the interior of the car. There's no steering wheel. Okay, so not only does it not have motive power, there's no dynamis. It can't go anywhere. Even if it could, it is not under the control of free will anymore. It has no steering mechanism. So even if it did have an engine, there's no directing it. It's totally aimless. So the current state of the dream ego, as portrayed by the dream maker, is a car that's been gutted. No motor, no steering wheel. Okay.
I do want to add, I mean, when I say gutted, I mean gutted. There wasn't even canisters for fluid underneath the hood. There wasn't a seat. There wasn't anything on the dashboard remaining. It was like literally just the body of the car, and that is it. No wheels, no transmission, no stick shift, nothing. It was cleaned out.
Okay, yeah. So that really is saying something about now. This isn't necessarily it is saying this is our situation when we have no engine and when we have no steering wheel. You're looking at what we are when that happens. When we don't have any energy, if we're listless and we have no goals or programs, or we're not going in any direction, we don't have a steering wheel either. We don't have anything. We are a car that's gutted. Okay. So we can't go anywhere. And even if we could go somewhere, we can't steer. So at the end of the dream ego is saying, who could have done this? Let me see what exactly it says. Well, let me put it in the text. It says, who could have done something like this? We're devastated. Well, what I'm saying is, it's who did it? We did it. We're the ones that did it. And I mean, because to me, I'm just saying that, we always dream about cars, and we're trying to find out what does a car mean in a dream. This, I think, describes it so well. Let me see. I'm going to put it in the chat here real quick. Or did you already put it in there? Yes, you did. Yeah, you did put it in the chat. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Well, anyway, Roy, do you have any comments about it?
Wow, it doesn't sound good as far as the ego goes. Doesn't look good for the ego.
It's a challenge. It's a
that's
challenge.
one way to put it. Yeah, challenge to the ego.
Yeah, I mean, when I have a dream like this, I am motivated. Okay, I mean, and I'll tell you, my dream maker is merciless. The things it says to me. When I tell the Anima, I said, "Oh, thank you so much for, showing me your face and for appearing." And then she says, "I don't suffer fools gladly. I don't appreciate your idolizing me. That's not why I'm here." So for sometimes all I'm saying here is this, is that I think the idea here is what Jung was saying yesterday about Muladhara is that we have to be born into this world. And before we can be born into the world, we have to have an engine and we have to have a steering wheel, But the thing is, Charles, do you, I mean, I'm seeing that this is a good follow-up to the dream about the sun going down and the
Oh yeah, I think so.
note and the closing in of the I gotta make sure nobody comes. Yeah, I keep missing people when they come in. What, so go ahead, Charles. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think all these dreams where, you know, where I just collapse in total emotional despair, which is a totally recent pattern. I think they're all connected.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I have to agree with Roy that, you know, it does not look very good for the ego. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
just realizing the situation, I need to build a fully functioning car, but
Yes.
all I have is the absolute base frame of it. And then I look over at the sun and it's going down. I don't have a lot of time. I have a very limited amount of time to get this car up and running.
Yeah, it is that
Yeah.
is my Tim. It was a dream, and
I'll put
yeah.
it in the
Go ahead.
chat.
Go ahead. Why don't you read it?
Here, I'll just post it in the chat again. But yeah, so I was in an unknown home and I laid down on the far side of the bed in the bedroom to go to sleep. Nearly dozing off, I realized Connor, my shadow, is there, and he lays on the bed next to me. I go to sleep and then wake up the next morning and go to my car. I look underneath it and there are some strange screws on the ground under the car, and I hand them to Connor. I then stand up and look at the engine bay with the hood popped and see the entire engine is gone. It's completely cleaned out. I then go to the side of the car and look in the interior, and the steering wheel is gone along with everything else. The car has been completely gutted. Once again, like in all these other dreams, I totally break down and cry like I've never cried before, and I am completely devastated and deeply distraught. I cry out and scream, who could have done something like this?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. Now let me just go over quick what I some of the things we've said so far. But first of all, you know, it's kind of a follow up to the dream where the sun is setting, the time of waking day is ending, and the moon world is about to envelop us. But it is the moon world of the old crone. It's a barren womb. You know, it's one that will never bear fruit. Consciousness is not, there's nothing about it that consciousness senses can bear fruit. So it sees the waking day closing. It knows that it's going to be enclosed in a dead world very soon. This dream, the thing I really liked about this dream is it really describes very well, I mean, as best as I've ever understood myself, what the meaning of the car in a dream is, okay? Because now, first of all, we're in an unknown home and we're laying down on the far side of the bed. So we're in some place that the ego is not aware of who's in charge here. So it's non-ego, it's psyche. We're in the home of psyche, you know, and it's in control here. It's really the realm of the irrational magic of the unconscious, not of the conscious attitude. And we lay on the far side of the bed, so could be right or left, but we're lopsided. We're not in the middle. And then the shadow comes in. It's our compulsive behavior. It follows us into sleep. We sleep. Okay. Now we wake up the next morning in the house of the psyche. We go outside. There's our car. There's all kinds of nuts and bolts under it falling out. So the car's falling apart. And not only that, we open up the front and the engine is out. And as Charles says, everything is out. The transmission, all of it's missing. And then we look in the passenger side, there's no steering wheel. So even if there was a motive engine that could move it, it is it's rudderless. There's nothing to steer it. So this is the dream maker first saying, look, Mr. Dream Ego, and this could be speaking to any of us, not just Charles. Here is your ego. You have no energy, you have no engine. And even if you did have an engine, you're rudderless, you're going nowhere, you know. So now the psyche loves us. The psyche is us. I mean, it's our lover, you know, and yet it is telling us this. It is so bluntly honest because it does love us, you know, and it is just pointing out to us this is the way it sees our current conscious attitude. And what it needs is it wants us to be the only way that we can assist the Kundalini chakras is to have an engine and have a steering wheel. And once we do, then we can assist the unconscious world, because now we have something to detach from, but we still have a standpoint in the outer world. But right now, if we don't have a standpoint in the outer world, we don't have anything to detach from. We're still living in infinity, you know. We're not living on the earth. So anyway, Tim, do you have any comments about it? Just that's, you know, everything we know.
I'm just a little curious about the language at the beginning. You go in the bedroom to go to sleep, so you realize your shadow is there, and then you do go to sleep. You wake up in the morning and go to the car. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
It's just kind of a funny way of saying it. Okay.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Okay. And it is your car, right? So it's, you feel ownership of it.
It's my car. Yeah, but I have an old Geo tracker, and yeah, it was the tracker out there.
Man, it's really fascinating, but I guess I don't have anything to add right now.
Yeah, well, that disconnect between the beginning and the last part is kind of typical, because it's that thing that says from this, that, you know, after spending a night in the place of the psyche, we now can't have a standpoint to look at our ego with another set of eyes. Okay. And that came from sleep and spending the night sleeping really in the unconscious, in the realm of non-ego, you know, and then we can awaken the next morning with a different set of eyes. Roy, do you have any comments on this? And then we'll have Charles sum up, and then we can go to Tim's dream.
Well, the shadow seems sympathetic, if that's what it is, Connor, but it might not be a shadow. It could be a psychopomp.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not alone. He has a guide. So that's sort of hopeful. Maybe he didn't pick it, but it's there. So that's an interesting development.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I see this in a lot of dreams, that we can't automatically assume that the other male figure is our shadow. Charles, do you have, you already kind of summed it up, but did you have any further thoughts?
I'm really confident that it is my shadow figure, because just of the dreams I've had of him, his brother is my psychopomp. His brother is this guy who is like severely schizophrenic, and I always, when he's in my dreams, I can tell he's the psychopomp, because we're always like, he's taking me places, and we're just like going places together, and Connor being my shadow just makes perfect sense, because he's very opposite of me, and I have a feeling that I show up as his shadow in his dreams, because he's like this very solar Apollonian masculine guy that's really fit and exercises all the time, and is like way too rational and stuff. But he's a really good dude. But yeah, I'm really confident he's my shadow. And I, you know, the dream is pretty simple, and you know, after bringing it up here, I feel like I understand it pretty well. And yeah, it just seems like I have this very narrow window in order to get this car back together, so that when the sun does go down, I'm not
Yeah,
stuck
you're not,
with the
you
immobile
can bear
vehicle.
fruit anyway. You can
Yeah.
still bear fruit because you have an engine. And Dawn said something which you alluded to, Charles, and I think you did too, Roy, is that the fact that the vessel is emptied is really a death, and every death is followed by a rebirth. So, you know, there is this thing that's the hopeful aspect of it. And I think you alluded to that, Charles, that there is you went that the pendulum has went as far as it can in this direction. So this is a potential for an enantiodromia, a swinging back. You know, I mean, I think both those dreams and the fact of the breakdown is very important, because if we do break down there, and let's say we sincerely experience rock bottom, that's the rock bottom that we experience through our great devastation and depression is the rock on which the house of wisdom is built. Everything up to that point, when we think the ego's got it, don't worry, we don't have to worry about the ego's under control here, you know, no, it can't do it, you know, not build the temple of wisdom, or build the temple of wisdom, which has an absolutely unshakable foundation. See, once you've built your house on the rock of the temple of wisdom, that is the place where the Buddha sat, you know, and it's the immovable spot. And so once we have established a foundation on that rock, nothing can shake us from then on, you know. So the fact that this, it's also kind of represents Inanna, you know, who has to take off all of her royal garb and her royal headdress, and she must come into this realm with no persona, you know. But when we come in a realm with no persona, we have really entered psyche, you know, the realm of psyche. And then go ahead, Tim.
This makes me think of the car as a cart, you know, and an empty cart is an entirely different thing than an empty car, because we think of a car as having to be full of all this stuff to be useful. But like Don is pointing out, that the vessel, you know, an empty cart is to me a really different thing, like you're saying.
Yeah, it is. That's the hopeful side of it, and that's why I say the psyche loves us. It's not going to leave us hanging, but it also speaks so. It's just like a blast of 450 below zero air. You know, I mean, it's going to speak absolute Delphic oracle type truth to us, you know, and sometimes we can't understand it. But Roy, do you have any final comments? And we'll go on to Tim's dream. It's pretty
well.
good
There's also the angle that we don't talk about much. I'm so an advocate of it. Donald Kelshed.
Yes, Donald
in the
Kelshed.
psyche, there's the survival self and the individuating self. And you have to have a personal spirit to open up the individuating self. So there's these entities, autonomous complexes that he calls the self-care system the protector persecutor that has us in survival mode, and we can't get to the personal spirit. And all this, of course, is unconscious, but it will come up in dreams and various things. You can catch it. So the psyche might love us, but it might keep us from growth to protect us from some sort of trauma or scary thing, because life is scary. To put yourself in life is scary. Maybe not for some people, but in general, it is, because life requires a lot of things from you that are controversial and scary and put you under a lot of pressure and causes a lot of resistance. And so we do all kinds of things to avoid it. And we have this autonomous complex in the psyche sometimes that protects us from that, because we're not ready. We're not ready to meet the personal self. We're not ready to individuate. We're not ready to differentiate. It's a very scary thing. It's a very big step. So the psyche is sort of a double thing here. You know, it's not always loving and helpful in a way that it's going to help you with your growth. It could be loving and helpful to protect you because you're not ready yet. So that's something to think about. That's, you know, sort of a different angle.
There are hopeful signs in this dream, and I think one is that the psyche is pushing us into the extreme direction that we've been tending. So we've been tending in a certain direction, which is not really healthy. It's going to shove us all away. That's the direction you want to go. Let me show you what it's like. And just shoves us very violently towards that, and then forces us to look at it in the face to accelerate the process. Now, the wound that we accept, and that was what I was thinking when you were mentioning Donald Kalsched, is the wounded person. And this is where I say Adam, you know, when he does his things, there seems to be a certain almost shamanic power when he does these things, yet he feels a little bit inadequate himself. I think the idea is that the wounded person has also awakened the healing aspect of his own wound. So now he can use his wound to heal others, because he's awakened the other side of the wound, the healing aspect. And then that's why the wounded person is a better healer because he's experienced that wound himself. So he's linked the head and the heart, you know.
Yeah, this is what therapy brings up. But all therapists will tell you about there's just incredible resistance that happens in therapy a lot of times. And that's the thing. Once you get through the resistance, the healing can start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. So anyway, it's a very good dream, and it's a good analog to the dream that preceded it, which was the dream of the dawn closing. Well, let's go to, thank you, Charles. And I'm not rushing on, but I just know Tim's dream is going to take us a little bit of time. Okay. I just put it in the chat here. Okay. So if you don't mind, Tim, I'm going to just go through it. Just some things I noted about it. And
Sure.
Remember, this is just my first take on it. And it's not really my take. It's what the voice spoke to me as I read it. So I'm trying, you know, when I, in interpreting dreams, I don't really feel I'm doing it. You know, I'm feeling that something else is giving me the symbolic power of this image. Okay. Well, anyway, it starts out that we go to a small section of a small river for some recreational purpose. So the dream ego has went to that place in nature where the stream of life is flowing, okay, which also represents the unconscious, but it's a flowing stream. And we went there to perform a timeless act. You know, it's a recreational purpose, something that is not related to earning a living, okay. And now this is a really interesting image, which I think is we've had in other dreams. As we're walking up the road to a kind of boat launch, we recall that this place we're going to, that there was two women there who had escaped their husbands and are hiding here in this section of the flowing stream of the unconscious. Okay. Now, the idea here is this, that, and again, I'm taking this very symbolically, and I'm saying it doesn't necessarily, the one thing we miss in this interpretation of dreams is the first thing we would want to do in a real Jungian analysis is spend about 30 minutes talking about what Tim did last week. And then we would follow with the dreams, and then there would be some sort of context. But what I'm doing, or the way we're kind of doing it, is we're just taking them very impersonally right off the bat. We're not asking for personal details. So anyway, I'm doing it pretty symbolically. So Tim's going to have to fill in the blanks. But anyway, this is just such an interesting image. We go to a place and suddenly, where did we get this information? This is the place where the double anima is escaping the masculine principle, which it has been forced in union with, and not in a marriage of love, not in a hieros gamos. You know, so the female principle is under the suppression of a masculine principle with which it does not have a natural affinity. Okay, so it is now has fled to the flowing stream of the unconscious, which actually is a masculine symbol. The flowing stream is a masculine symbol. And so it's flowing to a more natural masculine principle. It's going.
Why is it a masculine symbol?
The flowing stream is more active than a
lake
stationary lake or a pond.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it has an active principle in it that, so it sort of is a more masculine representative of the unconscious, but it usually would be the son of the mother. Not, it's not, you know, this disattached Yahweh. You know, it's the son of the mother. But anyway, it's a more natural masculine symbol, and so the feminine principle is hiding near the nature's masculine principle, not logos's that is totally detached from the earth. Okay, which I think it's complaint. They complain of the women, you know, and so now then the next part of the dream is suddenly the dream ego is now also floating down the river. So the dream ego is now participating in this flowing stream of the unconscious. It has joined it, okay, and through joining and participating in it, this feminine that we've heard of that is hiding there manifests itself, and we actually get to meet it, and we find it is rather hysterical, and that this masculine presence wants to rip it out of nature and take it to its own prison and hide it there and suppress it, really. You know, I mean, the idea is to take this magical feminine being and rip it out of the wilderness and take it into this four walls and imprison it there. Let's deprogram it, you know. How are you going to deprogram the magic of the feminine? you know, and the masculine principle, is that the one that's going to do it? You know, I mean, it is it's almost farcical, the masculine principle. It has no, um, it is should be in service to the feminine, not dominating it like this, you know. And so now the uh, uh, the husband is this masculine principle is absent, and the in parentheses possibly to protect her. What do you mean by that? That the husband is absent? His absence protects her? Is that what you meant, or what do you mean?
My feeling was that uh, that somehow his being there would cause her to be more hysteric or
Yes,
something.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
he's gone off somewhere, and I don't think I'm there on purpose, but I just happen to be there at the right moment or something like that.
yeah, and when you're participating in the flow, suddenly you're part of the drama, you know, because you're participating in the flow of the river. Now, there is his representative, this representative of the unknown husband who's missing, you know, who seems to represent. I can't get away from that. It's a suppressing the feminine. I mean, if you're going to have a natural relatedness of masculine and feminine, it's equal, you know, and it is. They are attracted to each other, and there's no repelling one from the other. You know, they're attracted to each other. You know, and he sends his representative, but of course, still their goal is to suppress the feminine principle. And the fact that she is hysterical is not any evidence that she should be imprisoned. It's her fear of being imprisoned, you know, taken away from her. Let's say we're going to take, you know, Artemis or Aphrodite, and we're going to take her to a jail cell, and this magnificent creature, and we're going to imprison her there. The king ego or something, masculine principle is going to thinks that will be good for her, you know. But what it's really doing is protecting itself by suppressing this magical feminine principle. So what ego is really trying to do. First of all, you always have to remember that the feminine is complete magic. She's the weaver of spells. She is the one who weaves and warps the tapestry of life, you know, and either through the three Norns or through her own spells that she casts. And the masculine principle is thinking this magic must be killed, and the way we kill it is by taking her to an institution and programming her into the masculine world. Now, this reminds me of, and it's not a very good politically correct thing to bring up, but Marie-Louise von Franz, when she was asked about the feminist movement, you know, she was saying that it's not a feminist movement. It is women who are trying to adopt masculine principles and to be given the same to operate in the masculine world efficiently, which there's nothing wrong with that. But she said a true feminism would be one who is coming out of its own truth in the mother world, being close to the earth and its own feminine magic, not adapting, becoming a very successful in the masculine world. It would be it would be nurturing and fostering the feminine principle. That's what she said. Of course, you know, one thing you got to remember about both Jung and von Franz, you know, is they are very close to the culture of the cave painters. You know, Jung always would organize his groups based on how many could fit in a hunter-gatherer palaver around the fire, and he didn't want any more than could be in a conversation in the sacred circle around a fire in Africa or in Europe, you know, because then he thought that the mob takes over, you know. But anyway, we're getting away from the dream. So anyway, this is the masculine is in pursuit of the feminine principle and trying to suppress it, is what I see now. And I can't, now I want to hear the other side in a second, Tim, but because I know there is another side, but for some reason, the dream ego is trying to earn her trust and coax her to the shore. So she's, where is she if she's not on the shore?
Floating down the river.
She's floating down the river. So she is in the unconscious. She is in her own element, really. I mean, because she'd rather be on the earth, but if she's not going to be on the earth, the anima is the unconscious. She's the personification of the unconscious. So the river and her are the same thing, you know. And so now we're trying to coax her to the waking day world, you know, and we're trying to, so where she can be rescued by this masculine presence who's going to take her to its institution of logos and deprogram her. This magical being who has nothing to do with the logos world, doesn't want anything to do with the logos world, and therefore is resisting the logos world and trying to hide from this power that's trying to, you know, just tear her out of her realm and take her over here, you know. I mean, it's just almost, you know, frightening. And then, so anyway, we're trying to coax her to the shore where she can be rescued by the worker. And then we finally, apparently she does, and we clamp her between our legs. Now, the one thing I can think of on this is that our standpoint in the outer world is going to ensnare her. So the standpoint of the dream ego, or the standpoint of the conscious attitude, or the standpoint of the masculine principle is going to trap her in its way of what it uses for its standpoint, and hold her there in its standpoint, you know. So so now she is trapped in the masculine standpoint, or she's trapped in the conscious attitudes standpoint, one of the two. And I'm not sure which is we're talking about here. But then she is crying out. She does not want to submit. She can't submit. There's no way. It would be like asking, you know, a bird of paradise to live in a chicken pen, you know. I mean, it's not, she can't do that. That's not, then she's not a bird of paradise anymore, you know. And so the instinctive feminine can't submit to an unnatural world. That's really where we're taking her, is a world that's not, that is now disconnected or detached from nature. And then at the end of the dream, and this is kind of a poor recompense, you know. I mean, I mean, it's like you break up with your girlfriend, okay, and she's, you know, walking away in sorrow and devastation, and then you say, "Can I write to you?" You know, can we be friends? You know, and you know, I mean, because we don't want to be brutal, you know, but on the other hand, you know, we've totally burst the bubble of the magical bubble that was there before, you know.
I see
So yeah,
Don
go ahead.
says, makes her think of of My Fair Lady. He changes her and then he loves her.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's really true, that so many times in a relationship, you want to change the person into something that's closer to your image of the ideal.
Yeah, and in this case, the women who live by the wild river, wow, that is a hell of an image for an anima, you know. Charles, do you have any comments on this?
Not exactly. But I mean, it's clearly the feminine is in a sort of like a duress kind of state, I would say. But you know, I can't really think of what it would mean for someone personally if they had this dream. That I'm having difficulty making sense of.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to hear Tim's reaction because, you know, what I did was very disembodied from Tim. Roy, what do you think?
Yeah, we're going to be hearing Tim for sure. It reminds me of Persephone, like Tim's like Hades or Pluto is abducting this woman. He's like the dark side, which I'm very interested in because they're portrayed, dark figures are portrayed as kind of two-dimensional. We don't know much about them. It's hard to get their story because the good side writes all the stories. I don't guess the dark side can sell a story. So they come out as sort of two-dimensional. So let's see if Tim can save us on this and give us some insight.
Yeah, yeah. Before you do, Tim, I just want to mention that this is we're entering this what is it, a 40-year house of dealing with the feminine that you're we're entering. You know, we got to keep that in mind when
Right. Yeah.
Tim has a dream like this. But yeah, now what do you think, Tim? Because now remember, I just totally ignored your biography in that. So you go ahead.
Well, Roy, I really appreciate that comment. I'm fascinated with this idea of the part of the figure that is hidden. And I totally agree that we always hear from the positive side of the figure because that's what's presentable, and both in terms of its origination and in terms of our hearing, we have a preference for whatever's easy to swallow. So I'm thinking about these three male figures, the dream ego, the husband, and this worker, and they all have different roles and they're all working together. And so as the dream ego, I'm kind of in the middle, in that I'm not intentionally helping with that program, but I just naturally fall into that. As soon as the husband says, okay, this is what we need to do, he sends the worker down to get this woman. And I'm saying, oh yeah, I'll help. You know, I got the crazy bitch between my legs here.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different aspects of the masculine that are in operation, and I really don't understand that very well. This is something I'd like to explore more thoroughly. You know, I think of the masculine unconscious in a man, this animus figure, as being pretty one-dimensional. I've got a shadow that I call my drill sergeant that is just this kind of stupid, predictable kind of character. And I think there's more to be discovered there. And this is a indication that there's at least three different elements of the masculine. that need to be pulled apart.
Well, the one thing I would say about the husband here is he is completely absent. So he has no human quality, you know. And then there is an idea of that in the eyes of the masculine, the feminine is crazy, you know.
Right.
Which let's hear what the feminine has to say. You know, what does that woman? She obviously has a grievance, you know, and whatever relationship we have with this husband who has no human presence, he's just a rumor, really. Is
Yes. And
yeah,
she's just so powerless in the face of this
yes,
situation, even though, as you say, I think she is the river. But
yeah.
I'd be curious to know what Dawn has to say about this, because there's got to be a
Mhm.
feminine perspective that the rest of us aren't getting.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Dawn, if you have any comments. Let's like here's what I would say, Dawn, is if you were hiding down the river from your husband, why would you be hiding there? What I mean, see, I'm sure we haven't really heard her point of view. We're just assuming that she's crazy, you know. And I'm kind of when someone takes refuge in the church, in a sacred place, it's almost a sacrilege to go get them out of there.
Right.
Well,
And
where,
there are two of them. And
yeah,
so
a
obviously
double
this
one.
is, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a double because he thinks there's something wrong with us. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm saying is that in the eyes of the masculine, the unbridled feminine needs to be suppressed. And how are we going to suppress it? Well, we've got this wonderful padded room here that we'll put her in there and then she can just go nuts and she's not going to hurt herself. And yet she's not going to hurt anybody else. Well, she's not hurting anybody else down by the river either. You know, I mean, she's actually in her own element, you know, she's hiding there. So when she sort of reminds me of Silent Talia, you know, Silent Talia is one of the nine muses, and she is the one who you only hear her voice when you're in the deep woods. Okay. When you're in the deep woods, suddenly the hidden muse, Talia, you'll start to hear her whisperings, you know. Now, so here, this woman who's and the reason that suddenly we got to beheld the hiding double feminine of the flowing river is who is hiding there. See, you know, there's almost something like a Greek myth about this. I mean, that the feminine is has attached itself to a river and is hiding a malevolent male uh, presence who wishes it harm. You know, and how is it wish it wants? Since we are the river, and it wants to take us away from the river. Our natural place we flee is to the river. And like I say, if even the worst criminal, it used to be, took refuge in the sacred place, then even the police couldn't arrest them, you know, because they would be very reluctant to breach the peace of the sacred place, you know, and to yank that person out of there. Well, the river is a sacred place, and it's really her river. So really, what I think is happening, that the magic of the unconscious, of the flowing stream of life, needs to be suppressed. And the masculine presence is going to take the magic away from the flowing stream of life. And so that it will now be a dead stream, you know, and it's going to take it to its dungeons, and put it deep down there. So now the masculine principle is not threatened anymore by the unconscious magic of the flowing stream, you know, which has a double feminine
And it's
aspect.
been labeled as hysteric by the
Yeah.
by the
And what does
wider-
hysteria mean? I mean, hysteria is, is someone who is not acting rationally, okay, who is not acting according to the principles of the outer world, okay. They are acting in contrast to the principles of the outer world, and the principles of the outer world don't like it, and they say, why, this is hysterical, you know, this can't be, we cannot have in this our very orderly outer world this kind of attitude, you know.
I have a few things after getting a minute in what you just said, kind of, I don't know, just kind of made me want to say, like, I feel like the feminine is being looked at as like the autonomy is not being respected of the feminine, and this kind of, which I've experienced this before. My friend and her family are like very patriarchal, and like she's like 20 something years old and treats her like a child that doesn't know any better, and that like her own free will and ability to make choices are just not respected. And so instead of, you know, just allowing for, you know, a bit of unpredictability and you know, abstract things and emotion and a little bit of chaos, and they just force her in line because they're so orderly. They just like, we can't have anything unpredictable going on, or anything even like powerfully emotional going on. We just have to force her into this rigidity. And another thing is like, maybe the woman in this dream is escaping her husband because maybe she's possibly married to the drill sergeant.
Yeah, it's interesting
that's
how we
another
apply
idea.
this to you, Tim. I mean, is there? I mean, let's just say, let me just give a stab at it. Now, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about anybody. Okay. If I had this dream, okay, what I would be saying is that I am saying what Charles just said. Basically, is that I am, I'm really am part of a machine state, that my conscious attitude is so rigid that it's participating in suppressing the redeeming thing in my life.
Right.
I mean, the redeeming thing in my life is this feminine presence down by the river. And by the way, you know, if you ever title your dreams, you know, I've always heard you always should title your dream, because when you title your dream, you don't title it. Sometimes, you know, something else titles it. What's the title of this dream, Tim? It's Crazy Woman River.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a river with a name. And the name of the river is the Crazy Woman River. Okay, who thinks the woman is crazy? The outer conscious attitude thinks that she's crazy. Why does it think she's crazy? Because the way of being of the conscious attitude and the river and its feminine qualities are at opposite poles. So the way of being of the feminine who never leaves the river cannot possibly come to the world of the conscious attitude, because it will be destructive to that world. You know,
This makes me think of a mountain range not too far from here called the Crazy Mountains, that are named precisely for this kind of situation. And the legend is that this was a Indian woman that was crazy, or maybe a white settler woman that went running off into the mountains. Very similar kind of situation. You know, what's that about? What was it? What was that incident that created that kind of discord?
Mhm.
So I think about, I'm thinking about my attitude. I had this dream about a month ago, and it was in this period that you guys know about, that I've been having a number of dreams of encountering anima figures in different contexts and situations. And I think of myself as being a very enlightened um, sort of feminist guy, in that I I'm fully aware of the, not fully, but I try to be really aware of feminine energy and the lack of it in the culture. And so I'm bringing this out in my art all the time. But I think what the dream is saying is, good job, little guy. You know, it's being it's showing me how far I have to go in that direction. That the feminine creative energy is wild, and there's no way to capture it. And if I do, you know, an incredible artwork, I still haven't captured the wild. I've just expressed the way I feel about it.
And we have to accept that. And I think that, especially in your position, or your what you have experienced in your life, is what I see is there is a need for a letting go and a non-judgmental accommodation of things. And it's really is this woo way that we don't judge, we don't interfere, we adapt. Now, I have this all the time. Every time I have the hexagram with the 6 feminine lines, you know, and it tells me I need to be the shaped, not the shaper. Okay. So I am the one who needs to be shaped by the river and by the feminine. And I am not to go down and try to shape the river and its feminine powers. It needs to shape me, you know. So I am to be the shaped, not the shaper, you know. So what does it take to let go? And see, the thing is, I think the rigidity of the ego attitude. I mean, I guess what isn't so much rigidity, but it is the emphasis on the conscious attitude. That the conscious attitude becomes the highest value. Okay, where, you know, what Jung said is that, hey, that's an inflation. You know, you can't reach the highest value within that little circle of ego. You know, become a hairless being in the realm of spirit in that little circle. It's an inflation. So what it needs to happen? Who needs to that we overvalue the conscious attitude? What needs to be undervalued is the conscious attitude, and overvalued is the river and the feminine presence. You know, in other words, we go there for the informing wisdom. We don't try to dictate it to the river and the women. We go there to be instructed, not to instruct, you know. And it's you know, now I don't mean to be critical of current Jungians, but I really do get the opinion sometimes that they overvalue the conscious attitude. Now, you're talking to an arch introverted intuitive too, whose grip on reality is very tenuous, you know. But so I'm not really a very good judge. It might be good to hear another dream either before or after, Tim, if you could have one that might put it in context. Roy, do you or Charles have any other comments on the dream? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I remember Tim saying that he treats the anima different than real women. And I took objection to that. They should be treated the same. And also your comment, Craig, about the hairless human. Maybe he's not Pluto. Maybe he's not Hades. He's a hairless human. And that's not the dark side. You know, that's not a big antagonist. Now, he didn't add any juice. Let me add a little juice. You know, let me give it a little juice. Okay, Pluto Hades abducts Persephone. Okay, Persephone's too naive. You know, she doesn't know about the patriarchy, about what's really going on in the world. You know, this women's lib stuff, you know, it's not about competing with men. It's about waking up into the mysteries. You know, this is how we create the Hecate, you know, the Medusa, waking up to the mysteries. You know, Pluto is waking Persephone up to the mysteries. Now, there's some juice.
See,
Yeah, she abducts her to the underworld, and then she eats the pomegranate. So then she needs to spend the winter there every year, you know, in the realm of the dead. Go ahead, Tim.
Roy, I wanted to push back about this idea that the anima and the women should be treated the same. I've been thinking a lot about that and trying to figure out what my resistance to that is. And it makes me think, what if the two are the same, then what is the purpose of a goddess? Because it seems to me the reason why the goddess is important is because there's a certain quality in the feminine that really deserves the worship of the man. And I don't want to worship the women in my life, but I very much worship the idea of the muse, who is a spirit, a spiritual character, a goddess. And for me, that becomes a really critical part of my my psychic balance, I believe. I just wanted to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Okay, the soul has a body. The body doesn't have a soul. And if the soul has a body, look how sacred it is. And real women have bodies and they have souls. You're speaking to a woman's soul, whether she's your anima or she's in flesh and blood. You know, you should speak to the goddess in both.
You know, it's interesting to me, and I'm sure you guys have had the same thing, is that the one thing about we living beings is there's an aspect of us that is male and female by accident. And then there's an aspect of us that's male and female mythically, you know, the living being side of us, you know. And you know, since my wife deals with a lot of women in trouble, I get to hear a lot of conversations that is only women, you know. And I think one time Sarah helped us out with this, the idea of the when you have just a group of women and you listen to them talk, there's none of this anima magic going on. So the anima magic is only activated, you know, in its full power because, you know, a woman always is magical. I think when I see her move and there's something there, it's just, I guess what's magic about it is it's the other than us men, you know, just walk like this, you know, where the woman always is just the way she even gently places something down on a table. But the idea is that the anima magic is really activated by that polarity of the man and the woman. So the outer world woman. Now I'm not trying to give an answer here. I'm just you know, making observations like we were you know, trying to get to an unsolvable mystery, you know, is that when the male is in contact with this, when they're in that women are all together in that group, there's not a lot of anima magic, but then the man comes in the room and one woman turns it on, you know, and then there's this very, and that is the goddess, that thing that she just turned on. Now, there is an aspect of the woman when she is the mother, she doesn't need a man there to activate that, you know. So when the woman is the nurturing mother, like my wife is just wonderful. You just see her, she goes in, here's a baby that was just born an hour ago. She knows exactly what to do. There's no hesitation, you know, no, she picks it up immediately without any fear. And she knows exactly what to do. Don't need a man to do that. And yet it is divine. There's
So
an
Roy,
aspect divine.
hit me again with this. I'm hearing you say that both the spirit and the body need to be revered as a goddess. Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, well,
Maybe give me
I
an
was
example, or
what I was trying to address was the difference between the inner anima image and the outer woman. Okay, you know, and what I was saying is that inner now am I going off? Am I answering your question yet or not?
well, I'm
Yes, starting.
I'm asking Roy to
Oh,
repeat
okay.
what
Yeah, Roy. Okay, you're asking
what
Roy.
you
I'm
said.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Roy.
Yes. Uh, let's say if you're not grounded, you're not into the earth, you can idolize the goddess or the anima. Like in art, it's what it does. You're trying to capture this thing in your art, which is sort of an idealization, but it's not grounded. To ground it, you have to relate to the flesh and blood. You have to relate to a real woman. So you're going to relate to her better when you can project the goddess on her. She will respond to it.
Well, that might be key because there's so little real feminine energy in my everyday existence, especially since the sequestration. But I've got a girlfriend that I haven't seen in 5 months. She got COVID and went into the hospital and has not been able to have visitors. And you know, that everyday practice of the back and forth between the male and the female that a relationship is so great for is just missing. I'm doing it all in my head.
Telephone,
Yeah, the trouble is,
FaceTime, you know.
yeah, the
FaceTime.
trouble is her oxygen is so bad she can't talk very well. So it's
Wow. How long she been in the hospital?
well, she was in ICU for 5 weeks.
Oh my
Or
God.
she's in the hospital for 3 months, but intubated, so unconscious for 5 weeks.
How's she doing now?
Well, better, but she's out, she's home, she's able to, take nourishment, but not progressing
Right.
very fast.
Yeah. Well, that idea too of now, let me just give you an image that Marie-Louise von Franz talked about that I find wonderful. Is that this woman had a dream of a bear outside a cave, and it had a black stone, and it was smoothing it on another stone. And she said that's the stone of relationship, you know, that that it, through the friction of two beings living together, who also can awaken magic in each other, you know, can awaken the divine in each other, the thing that attracts. And let me tell you this, let's say that food had no flavor, you know, or no aroma or no texture, and it wasn't warm or cold or whatever. It was just a pill, you know. I mean, is that what the way we want our magical other to be? I mean, now see, the only thing I'm talking about, and I'm not trying, I don't have the answer, is the difference between the inner anima and the outer woman. You know, I mean, there's aspects. See, now the outer woman is the bridge to the outer world, and the inner woman is the bridge to the inner world. But you know, the inner woman is. Let me see. I'm just about ready to lose my computer here. I didn't have my thing plugged in. The inner woman, even though she's so magical, if you don't ever have an outer woman in your life, she becomes a little two-dimensional. You know, she's a little. The thing is, she's a poor imitation. I mean, the man's anima is a poor imitation of a real woman. And we find that sometimes with when we are in an anima mood, and the animus in a woman is a poor imitation of a man, you know. So then when the real woman comes in, like let's say you've been just in love with an image all your life, and then suddenly a real woman comes in here and sits down and maybe accidentally touches your knee with her knee. And she says, have you ever been in love? You know, and she's wearing a beautiful perfume, you know, and it's late night and smells like date night, you know, and there's some nice music going on or something, you know. I mean, it's just, it's not the same. I mean, now this is life. This is history. So now we're tying the magic of the divine with time and space, you know. So now it's moving in a historical trend, and over here we're dealing with infinity, you know. And so you know, the tangibleness of that historical aspect of it is inescapable, you know. I mean, can you ever have these sweet memories of things that have happened to you, you know, even if it's not even a love relationship? I always have these flashbacks of just places and ambiences and moods and all this kind of stuff that just, you know, absolutely amaze me. Tim, did you want to put this dream in any context? Do you have a dream either before or after that is
Yeah, I have one after that's pretty short.
Okay.
Let me stick it in here.
All right.
Elisa is the woman, the real woman who's a friend of mine that I had this incredible encounter with 30 years ago. When she was working on a play with my father, a production of Hamlet. She was playing Ophelia, and she and I had painted the set together. And she comes out on stage wearing a white dress. And I saw my Anima image for the first time in my life. And it just affected, you know, my whole search since then. So in this dream, I'm in her family house. And I've been invited to come to a play as part of a variety show. It seems a little chaotic, like I don't have enough control. And I'm still obsessing about it. So I decide to go to a rehearsal or something in the middle of the night. But approaching the house, a woman in the midst of a vast plaza outside the house stands up to prevent me, and I'm certainly embarrassed that I don't even what?
Live there?
No, I don't know why I'm there.
You don't know why you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, a woman in the midst of a plaza stands up to prevent me, and
To
you're
prevent me
embarrassed
from
that you don't
going-
even know why you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
I
why
should-
I'm there.
Why didn't I know that there would have been some barrier from me getting into the house? I'm trying to sneak in the night. So I try to explain myself, but I just collapse in embarrassment.
Yeah, well, this is kind of like you not anticipating that one woman in the house of the four women.
Yeah, it felt
who's gonna
very
set-
much the same.
So
That-
you're disappointed, or you were wondering why you didn't anticipate this opposition that you're going to experience. So it's very similar. You know, you've had at least 3 dreams like that where you go somewhere and some magical process is about to occur, and then someone comes in and blows it all up. You know, it was with the diorama, it was with going to the realm of the 4 women, and now it's let's just go through it. In Elisa's family, now Elisa is a very important woman of the outer world, correct?
yeah, although my relationship was always
Worshipping it from afar, or
yeah, and I told her what was going on. You know, I said, I'm seeing something in you that is not part of you, it's part of me, and I'm responding to it. So just, you know, give me a grain of salt here.
yeah, I mean, I do this with almost every woman I meet, worship her from afar. So anyway, I'm very good at worshiping from afar. I'm not good one-on-one. Okay. So anyway, we're we're in the house of the Anima, the one that really awakens us, and we've been invited to come to participate in a ritual enactment, some type of a ritual enactment. In other words, we're going to be a participant in some activity that is going to present a little myth, a story. You know, a story is a little myth. You know, and so we're at that house, and it seems chaotic because what seems chaotic, I'm trying to read between lines here, is you're obsessing about it or obsessing about her?
About it, the play.
What is it?
My role.
Oh, your
whatever
role
it
in
is.
the play.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't so when you're saying that you have no control over the script or what character you get to play.
You know, I have a lot of dreams like this of performance anxiety dreams.
Okay.
Showing up at the theater the night of the opening and realizing I've never gone to a rehearsal.
There
I
you
don't,
go. Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. So
is this
like
similar?
Yeah.
Is this similar? So in other words, you're going to be a part of a ritual act, but you haven't memorized the script. You don't know. So the chaotic aspect of it is that you haven't rehearsed the role. So you're going there, and how are you going to possibly perform because you don't know you haven't rehearsed. So you decided to, because of that performance anxiety, you decide to go to a rehearsal in the middle of the night. Okay, how did you know there was going to be a rehearsal in the middle of the night?
Who
Or
knows?
why was there a rehearsal? You know?
Nope.
No.
No
Okay.
idea.
So anyway, we go to the place where there's going to be the rehearsal in the middle of the night, and as we're approaching the house, a woman in the midst of a vast plaza stands up to him. Whew! Isn't that a wonderful image? Okay. We're approaching the house in the middle of the night.
So she's like a security guard or something
Yes.
like that.
And this woman and is uh, and she's a security guard to what? She's preventing us from going in there. I mean, it's just it is very similar to me to the woman who prevented you from going into the house of the four women, and it's very similar to the woman who told you that you and her husband knew nothing about what that diorama meant. You know, I mean, it's the aspect of that in these at least these three dreams. There has been this woman of great power who intervenes in ego and says, bars you from entry. Okay. This has happened. This is the third time this has occurred, at least. It's a very strange image for the feminine. This
And
one.
it's also, it occurs to me that this is very like the river dream, except that that this is happening in her territory instead of in the territory where the males are in control.
Yeah, so the woman is in control here. Now, there's a very strange relationship right now with the dream ego and the eternal feminine. Okay. And I think the strange relationship is the conscious attitude and the eternal feminine right now are at loggerheads. Now, I don't know what the conscious attitude is, but of yours or anyone who had dreams like this, but there is something about it that is in opposition to the independent autonomy, actual autonomy of the feminine. Now I don't know what that means. All I'm saying is that we've had three dreams where some woman bars us from participation 3 times in a row. I don't know what it means. Now, then at the end, we don't know. Again, this is the same thing that exactly what the dream ego said at the end of the dream of the house of the four women. How could I have not known there would be some barrier? Isn't that exactly what you thought at the end of that dream?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you try to explain yourself, but you collapse in embarrassment. I don't understand this really. I know I think it's unbelievably powerful and ominous and has a great message in it, but I'm not sure what it is. Roy, do you have any comments about it? I mean, we want to think about it for sure.
Let's bring my alternative thing back in with the survival self and the individuating self. Maybe the survival self is operating in Tim to protect him. He's not ready to individuate. He's not ready to face some kind of trauma, something in his past that is the block. And he's being protected by the survival self. And in order to get to the individuating self, that's where therapy comes in. And then we're talking about resistance again. Can it happen? It's really hard to jump that gap. But once you do, it's blue skies. Everything starts moving.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, Charles, do you have any comments about it, or?
Well, I mean, first of all, it of course bears resemblance to the dream where he's not allowed into the house where all the women were, but you were invited by one of the women, right? It's
Right.
just some kind of authority figure woman barred you from entering.
This
Right.
is what I meant.
So
And here's a parallel with this one, because Elisa is the young woman that is like the woman in the other dream that invited me to the house. So that seems parallel here.
yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, the one aspect of the feminine is inviting you, and the other one is barring you. It almost makes me think that like the feminine, well, this is just throwing stuff in a wall, but the feminine within you is not developed into a mature enough state, and that's why the mature woman will not let you enter, but the younger woman says, yeah, come right over. That the feminine parts of your psyche that you have a relationship with, you haven't gotten to the point where you have the relationship with the wise old woman, possibly.
That's
Just
true.
throwing stuff at a wall. But
I think there's an
yeah.
I think that's exactly a place to start. Now, see, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out why the hopeful dream ego is going to participate in some type of a act with a inviting feminine presence, and in each case, the some authoritative figure who is not the anima, but is a feminine presence, prevents us and says, you are barred from entry here. Now, in each of those at least 3 cases, this first one's a little not completely analogous. I would say that Charles is kind of hitting the head nail on the head. It's just a clue, but it's not the answer necessarily. That the what we're going to be doing is all in our own imagination. It's all in our heads, and there's an aspect of it that is overly frivolous. And the wise old woman is being like these very judging women in my dreams who tell me that you have no idea. Try living without me. Do you know who I am? Let's see you live without me. I mean, there's an aspect of them that they are incredibly powerful, an incredibly powerful part of the source of our own existence. They are the creator of us, And if we're going to be relating to the anima, we also have to relate to them too, because they're also this aspect of the anima. So, I mean, to me, Tim, it is saying, stop relating to the anima and start relating to the Great Mother. Stop this infatuation with the nubile nymph and approach the Great Mother and recognize who she is. She bore you into this world. Through her loins, you came out, and now you have to have a relationship with her, and that focusing always on the say, now I'm not, I need a thesaurus, because this is not the right word, but the titillating aspects of the feminine are not the healing thing in our life. You know, there is a need for the healing feminine, but it is not that titillation that comes from her dizzying beauty and attraction. Roy, do you have any comments on that? I'm just stabbing in the dark here too. But go ahead.
Yes, that's a dimension that men get into, the titillating part, which I would put under addiction.
Mhm.
And as long as we're under the spell of addiction, we can't grow. We can't get into the individuation. And you're right, Craig. It's that dimension of the depth of a woman that brings out the best in a man. That special woman that a man finds that no other woman has. It brings out the best in him. He does stuff that he never imagined he could do, and he can't do it without that woman. That's not the titillating part. I don't know what you call it, but when you find a woman like that as a man, you never forget it.
Yeah,
Wow.
and we go ahead, Tim.
great.
I have just an idea, but go ahead, Tim.
Well, it's I'm having this response that makes me think you're right exactly on, because there's something about that that I have not a conscious resistance to, but a kind of emotional resistance, as if, oh, I already know that stuff or something like that. And so, Roy, I think you're right on. There's something about that I really need to explore. And
Okay, now let me say something too. We asked for a dream, either before or after the crazy woman dream, to try to put it in context. It did put it in context. we don't take Crazy Woman River to the institution and instruct her. We aren't the shaper, we're the shaped. We need to go and be instructed by Crazy Woman River. You know, and so, yeah. Roy?
Yes, there it was, Tim. I heard it. This emotional thing comes up. It's a very difficult thing for you to deal with. So you're being protected. This is a survival self. It's protecting you. But one day you'll have a talk with the survival self when you say, no, I'm ready to take the next step. I'm ready to face that emotion and go into it and deal with it.
Oh, that's great.
And I think you just heard it through that woman in the plaza. That's the crazy woman.
Oh.
And she's not hysterical now. You know, so I mean, I think the idea, this is what the dreams tell me. Craig, you're not the shaper anymore. You need to be the one who's molded. And what you need to be molded by is the healing, eternal feminine. And you need to be her student. You don't need to be her instructor. You know, you be the shaped, not the shaper, you know. But that was a perfect contextual dream. You know, I would like, Roy, sometime too, to rediscuss your white pelican dream, because I just wanted to, I'm not trying to insist on it, but I just want to relate the pelican to the shoebill stork a little bit. I'm not trying to push that, but I just like, but anyway, Tim, that is a wonderful, wonderful dream. You're never disappoint. Okay.
Well,
You know,
thanks you guys for helping me illuminate these two. It's really
yeah.
been
I mean,
helpful.
it illuminated me. I think it illuminates all of us. I mean, we all learned something here. I did anyway. You know, I mean, we're all kind of teaching each other, not just our own conscious attitude. And you too, Charles. I mean, I think for the first time, I've kind of gotten an idea of what the car is. Now, Dawn has a question. I'm struggling to understand something. You don't have to address it now, but I wonder to me, The conscious mind is the vessel and passive, while the unconscious mind is active and penetrating for both men and women. What I would say is this: the willful ego thinks it's the active part, but I think what we just found out that it needs to use its wonderful powers, but be in service to the unconscious, and the unconscious can't do it. Now, let me say, who's active, who's passive? What's is the philosopher's stone cannot appear in nature all by itself. It needs both sides to participate. So we can't create the symbol unless both sides are given equal respect, you know, and then they can't do anything by themselves. The unconscious can't do anything without ego, and ego can't do anything without the unconscious. Otherwise, we're that hairless being that Jung talked about. To create the philosopher's stone or the divine child needs the dialogue between the two that we get in dreams. Anyway, I want to talk more about that next time, Dawn. So next Wednesday, let's talk about that a little bit. I'll archive this chat. But anyway, Tim, I don't know how many questions you answered, but we answered a lot of my questions.
Yeah, I found it really, really helpful. And now I want to just go run into my journal and start writing about this stuff. I think I can learn something.
Okay,
So
great. Well, have a great Wednesday. I know you're going to be active Wednesday, and
Right.
I'll see everybody Wednesday. And thank you, Dawn. Your comments are always, every one of them were really good.
Yeah.
And
thanks,
thank you,
Don.
Roy, Charles, Tim. We'll
All right,
see you
thanks,
next
everyone.
time.
Take
See you
care.
next time. Good night.
Bye-bye.